So you guys know that on the Snipe Life, we love archaeological evidence. This video from Expedition Bible is amazing. It's a short video, but I wanted to talk through the importance of finding things like this and how you can add it to your arsenal of tools to help you to not doubt as much when it comes to thinking about God, thinking about Christianity, thinking about how things actually work. Okay, let's jump into this. I love Expedition Bible. I love Joel Kramer. So let's talk about this video right here.
So there's an area that's located to the southwest of Jerusalem and about 5 miles east of Lachish. In this area is an archaeological site called Beit Loya.
So in order for us to see this in a better way for us, we're going to go to Google Maps and I'll show you exactly where this is at, okay? So again, if we go to Israel, we can dive in right here and we see Jerusalem up here. And then to the southwest of Jerusalem, we see Lachish right here. And then we see over here is the area that he's talking about. Now this is a different location, but nearby this area is exactly where he's talking about here to the east of Lachish right there. So let's jump in.
And within the ruins themselves and in the surrounding hills are many, many caves. And it's in one of these caves that has a fig tree growing out of it. You actually have to climb through the leaves of this fig tree to get down into the cave, where you can see on the side of this limestone wall this huge Greek inscription. In fact, there's a...
I'm actually like insanely surprised that there's not a church built on top of this location. Like, this is really cool archaeological evidence that a lot of times in Israel gets snatched up by these different churches and organizations to make them into something else rather than just an archaeological location. So I wonder if that does happen, how long it will take for that to happen. But this inscription is really interesting. So let's hear what Joel has to tell us about it.
A shot of me walking between the camera and the inscription that shows you just how big this inscription is. Fortunately, this inscription has been published. It starts with a simple cross, a very early version of the cross, followed by 2 Greek words, all of them in uppercase Greek letters. The first word is a name, and it's translated Jesus. The second Greek word is translated present. So this inscription is translated Jesus is present.
So this is awesome. This is a really cool, significant piece of archaeological history that we can look at to point us towards Jesus. It's not just us saying, yeah, Jesus definitely existed. It's actual evidence that he existed, that he was important, and that people revered him. Okay, so let's keep on watching here.
There's another cross, a fancier cross, underneath the inscription that is believed to have been added later. The inscription dates to the end of the 2nd century AD, or maybe into the beginning of the 3rd century AD. So we're talking about the late 100s to early 200s AD.
So that's really close to the time of Christ, right? Let's say that Christ died and was resurrected in like 29 to 30 something AD. Okay, so like that's kind of the time frame that we think about as Christ was crucified. Okay, so then he's resurrected slightly after that, and then we see as all the church begins to build, and of course we're seeing all of these hidden underground churches, such as this example here, where people would be hiding in order to meet and to pray and to worship Jesus. Okay. Hey, real quick, if you're enjoying this video and you want to see more content just like this or get extra content, the best way to support us and to get that extra content is to go to patreon.com/thesnipelife. This is the best way to help support us and to continue doing what we're doing here on the YouTube channel.
Very early inscription. It is at the very least one of the earliest inscriptions mentioning Jesus, possibly the oldest inscription mentioning Jesus. So now, why is this inscription underground in a cave? Because it dates to the time period when there was intense persecution by the Romans against Christians.
Yeah, remember, like either right before this time frame or during this time frame, you have Emperor Nero. I can't remember the exact dates for Emperor Nero, but he was crazy, bro. Like he literally took Christians and put them on pikes outside of his palaces and stuff, like just skewered their bodies. Crazy stuff. He would have them fight in the Colosseum. He would have them fight like lions and tigers and stuff. Like it was crazy, the persecution that Christians were under and how they were killed during the early times in the church. So the persecution was massive during this time. So of course they would want to hide and find places where it was safe for them to meet.
So the church often met literally underground, as they did in this cave.
Like, imagine this. Okay, let's go back to Google Maps for a second. So just imagine this, right? So this is like, he's saying this is a while south of Jerusalem. So this is like, Bethlehem's like 5 miles-ish. So this is probably like, I don't know, like 20 or 30 miles maybe. So you would have to take like a day or two travel, like to get to this location and to meet here. So maybe people from Hebron, maybe people from Lachish, like maybe these different areas have started to meet here as like a secret church, right? Like you can start putting the pieces together as these different things come into play. It's really, really interesting.
Now, how do we know that the Jesus in the inscription is the Jesus of the New Testament? Well, it's the symbol of the crosses that begin and end this inscription. So the cross is the main symbol of Christianity. The Bible teaches that all men are sinful, and so God so loved the world that he came down from heaven, he became a man, he took on a body of flesh and blood for the purpose of taking the punishment of sin upon himself. And he died on the cross in our place so that we could be forgiven and that sin that separates us from God could be removed and we could draw near to God.
So good.
Why did the inscriber inscribe Jesus as present? Because Jesus didn't stay dead, but being God, he was raised from the dead on the third day. Jesus promised, "For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I in their midst." And this cave at Beit Loya is just such a place. Now, I can't tell you how many lectures I've sat through or how many articles that I've read that have made the claim that there is no archaeological evidence for Jesus of Nazareth.
Which is so crazy. like you have to understand, like when you start looking into this stuff, you start to realize that there is so much evidence for Jesus. Not even in the Bible, right? Like extra biblical evidence. Not even Josephus, who's a historian, talked about him. There's actual archaeological evidence. Like there's so much evidence for Jesus being a person, regardless of what you think about him. We know that he existed. And at this point in time, I think most people that would talk about this would say at least that Jesus was a real person, even if they don't believe that he was God, right? Or even if they don't believe that he was the Messiah. So I think there's so much evidence for who Jesus is. It's just crazy. Really, really cool to see.
And this simply isn't true. This inscription at Beit Loya isn't the only one, but it is very significant because being around 1800 years old, it provides direct archaeological evidence for the historical Jesus.
So crazy, so crazy. If you want to check out Joel's channel, go over to Expedition Bible, one of my favorite channels to watch. Seriously, like he could put out an 1.5-hour video and I would watch it instantly. One of my favorite people. Go check him out. He's going to offer you a ton of stuff about Israel. Specifically, his most recent video about the Temple Mount is very, very good. We may look at that at some point on this channel as well. But check out that channel. Awesome stuff. Remember, Jesus was a real person who existed, who did all the things that the Bible says that he did. There is evidence for that. So let's take a second. Let's look at the evidence. Let's look at what God left us to look at, because there's a reason why he gave it to us. And we don't have to just move forward on our own blind faith or our own blind intuition. There are things to look at and to study and to see that God allows us to see the truth of the situation.